She was a poor girl from a small town. Nothing special about her looks. No special skills either. But one day, she made a bold decision to leave home and go to America alone. What pushed her to leave was actually this town itself. The town was in a remote part of Ireland, very closed off, few resources, even fewer opportunities. Young Alice could only work at the town's only grocery store. But small towns have a problem. Even buying things depends on connections. Whoever you know gets served first. The shop owner was pretty snobbish too. She often made things hard for people on purpose. Alice's future here was almost predictable. The young girls in town mostly pinned their hopes on dances, because good men were rare. Everyone dressed up carefully, just to find someone to rely on. Her best friend was the same way, only Alice was different. She knew this wasn't the life she wanted. Her sister could see her frustration. Even though the family only had their mother and 2 daughters, her sister still asked around for help, and managed to arrange her trip to America. Of course Alice wanted to leave, but family ties and memories of home kept making her hesitate. At the critical moment, her sister comforted her. She walked Alice onto the ship, but Alice didn't know then that some goodbyes last forever. The first night at sea was rough. She didn't understand ships. She ate dinner like usual. Then when the storm hit, she got seasick right away. Even worse, the bathroom was occupied. She had to rush into the hallway. In the end she spent the whole night throwing up into a mop bucket. The next morning, someone gently woke her up. A kind woman on the ship helped her, and shared a lot of advice. The woman had lived in America for many years. She already considered it home. She reminded Alice to pay attention to many details at immigration. Dress nicely, don't cough, and don't look too nervous. Soon, Alice pushed open the immigration doors, and from that moment, her fate began to change. She arrived in New York, living in Brooklyn, sharing a place with several Irish girls. The landlady was strict, very old-fashioned. Her roommates were all different. Many of the things they talked about, Alice didn't understand. Work didn't go smoothly either. She worked as a shop clerk, but she didn't know how to chat with customers. She was stiff and awkward. New York was lively and bright, but she felt even more lonely. Until one day, a letter from her sister arrived. The moment she opened it, her eyes turned red. The letter was full of little things from home, but those ordinary details made her miss home terribly. She read the letter again and again. Every night, she cried herself to sleep. She became more and more depressed. Even her work suffered. Her boss had to let her take some time off. Later, the shop contacted a priest. The priest knew her sister. He was also from Ireland. He understood homesickness very well, so he signed her up for night classes to study bookkeeping. That decision slowly changed her life. Studying gave her a goal again, and a bit more confidence. But she still didn't know what kind of life she truly wanted. Until one Christmas, the priest invited the girls to help at the church. They handed out food to homeless Irish elderly. Everyone else made excuses. Only Alice went. The priest told her, those old men once built bridges and roads. They worked hard for the city, but now, they lived in poverty, relying on charity. Later, someone started singing an Irish folk song. The familiar melody made everyone quiet. Homesickness slowly filled the air. Alice was moved too. She suddenly realized that people who leave home are all the same. What lies ahead may not truly be the future, but turning back may not leave a road either. From that day on, Alice stopped thinking about home all the time. She began trying to fit into the city. Her life slowly started to change. The landlady began to appreciate her, and gave her the best room. Her roommates liked her more and more. When they went to dances, they even helped her with makeup. That night, she had her first dance partner, but she was too nervous. The man soon left. Just then, a man had been watching her. His name was Tony, an Italian plumber, very warm and friendly. They chatted a little. Alice slowly relaxed. That night, Tony walked her home. During the walk, they laughed many times. Since coming to New York, this was the first time Alice felt truly relaxed. That was how Tony entered her life. He was good at talking, and even better at listening. During dates, he always found ways to get her to talk about her life. Slowly, Alice began looking forward to seeing him. To see Alice more often, Tony started waiting outside her night school every evening. He just wanted to walk her home. They often took the same bus. The lonely nights slowly became warm. Tony was actually very nervous. He wanted to ask Alice to the movies, but he was afraid he wouldn't impress her. This time though, Alice said yes first. She said, if the first date went badly, they could always try again. In fact, Alice knew very clearly that she chose Tony, and she chose New York too. If you just stay where you are, life never changes. Only by stepping forward can fate change. Slowly, the loneliness in her heart disappeared. Replacing it was a new kind of excitement. She felt like she was truly building a life. She no longer felt adrift. Like when she first arrived, she became more confident. Work improved. Even her supervisor started seeing her differently. In her letters, her sister also noticed the change. Alice told her sister she had a boyfriend, but asked her not to tell their mother yet. Her sister was happy for her, but in the letter, there was also an emotion hard to describe. Alice didn't notice it. She was busy being in love. Tony invited her to meet his family. Tony's family was Italian. Her roommates taught her some table manners. For example, when eating pasta, twirl it with a fork, otherwise the sauce flies everywhere. On the day they met, Eilis did very well. Tony's family liked her. The dinner table was lively. Only Tony's youngest brother was a bit rude at first, but the family quickly corrected him. Later he apologized seriously. This family made Eilis feel warm. They even started talking about the future. Tony mentioned that someday if they had children, they should support his favorite team. Hearing that, Eilis suddenly fell silent. That night on the way home, Tony confessed his feelings seriously, but Eilis didn't respond right away. She wasn't sure. She was ready to build a family. Until one day, she talked about it with her roommate. That roommate had been divorced, abandoned by her husband. But when Eilis asked if she still wanted to marry again, the roommate still said yes, because having a family was the life she wanted. Even if it ended badly, she would accept it. Those words woke Eilis up. The key in life isn't avoiding failure, it's having the courage to choose. But that night, Tony didn't wait outside school, like he usually did. Eilis felt a little disappointed. Just then, Tony came running over, out of breath. He had been fixing a drain for an elderly lady, and it took longer than expected. While he was explaining, Eilis suddenly interrupted him. She finally gave her answer. She told Tony that if he said he loved her again, she would say it back. Tony froze. Then he smiled like a child. From that moment on, Eilis's life in New York went better and better. She passed her exams, got her accounting certificate, and saved enough money to pay next year's tuition. The landlady and roommates celebrated for her. Tony also planned to take her to the seaside. Everyone was happy for her. That weekend, they went to Coney Island Beach. The beach was crowded. Eilis wore a swimsuit and looked confident. Her life seemed to be getting better step by step. Just then, another letter from her sister arrived. The letter was gentle as always, saying she wished she could see Eilis's life now. But only a few days later, terrible news came. Her sister suddenly passed away from a heart attack. It happened very suddenly. The priest told Eilis the news. She completely broke down. It turned out, her sister had known she was sick, but told no one. Eilis fell into deep guilt. She felt she shouldn't have left home. After the funeral, her mother called. On the phone, her mother said she was now alone in the house. Eilis listened, but could do nothing. Distance made the grief heavier. She decided to go home for a while. Tony didn't want her to leave, but he didn't stop her. Before she left, Tony took her somewhere. It was an empty field on Long Island. The place hadn't been developed yet, very quiet around. Tony told her he wanted to build a house there someday, and start a business with his brother. When he talked about these plans, he had only one wish, that Eilis would be part of that future. Soon, the time to leave arrived. Tony didn't want her to go, so he proposed marriage. Eilis felt it was sudden, but seeing the sincerity in his eyes, she agreed. The next morning, they went to City Hall, and quietly got married, without telling anyone. Not long after, Eilis returned to her Irish town. She only planned to stay 1 month, but soon, she ran into her old best friend. Her friend was about to get married, and invited her to the wedding. So, she decided to stay longer. However, she never told her mother that she was already married. Only when visiting her sister's grave would she wear her wedding ring and talk about Tony. To the tombstone, she knew New York was the life she wanted, but seeing her lonely mother made her feel guilty. Just then, something new appeared. Her friend invited her to dinner. There was a man in the car. His name was Jim, from a wealthy family, a well-known rich kid in town. Eilis felt Jim looked the same as before, always in a suit, hair perfectly combed. But Jim felt differently. He noticed this Eilis who came back was more charming than before. All night, his eyes stayed on her. Eilis talked about life in New York, and said she wanted to become an accountant. After hearing that, Jim immediately suggested something. The local factory needed an accountant. Maybe she could try it. That night, Eilis had a great time. After she got home, her mother asked how things were going with Jim. She even mentioned Jim's parents were about to retire, and the house would go to him. Those words sounded like a hint, but at that moment, Eilis hadn't wavered yet. She still planned to return to New York, but as time passed, she stayed longer in town. Things started to change. The factory really called her, and asked her to work part-time as an accountant. Eilis agreed. The boss was impressed with her skills. He even hoped she would stay permanently. For the first time, Eilis hesitated. The town seemed different now, not as suffocating as before. And Jim slowly entered her life. He wasn't arrogant like a rich kid. He was gentle and sincere. Though he had never left town, he still dreamed of seeing the world. The two of them grew closer. Once upon a time, Eilis had nothing here, but now, she had a job, friends, and even a possible future. The town had never felt so gentle. And New York, that busy crowded city, slowly began to feel like a dream. In these quiet days, Eilis's heart started to waver. Days passed. Eilis's life in the town became more stable. Jim moved closer to her. He changed the way he dressed, and tried harder to start conversations, talking about things she liked. Of course Eilis could tell Jim liked her, and if she simply nodded, she could stay in town. No need to travel far again. No need to leave her mother. Her future might even be easier. But at the same time, Tony kept writing to her, letter after letter. Yet Eilis still hadn't replied. Soon, her friend's wedding arrived. The whole town celebrated. People even assumed Eilis and Jim Jim would soon be together. That atmosphere made her even more confused. Just then, Jim finally confessed his feelings. He hoped Eilis would stay and build a life with him in town. Eilis faced a painful choice. She wasn't just choosing between two men. She was choosing between two lives. One side was the safe familiar town. The other was busy unfamiliar New York. No one could tell her which choice was right. Just when she hesitated, fate gave her a reminder. That day, the grocery store owner asked to meet her. This woman loved gossip. She already knew Eilis had been seeing Jim, but what really excited her was something else. It turned out, she had a relative in Brooklyn, and that person had seen Eilis and Tony at City Hall before, which meant she already knew Eilis was actually married. The shop owner revealed it, her voice dripping with sarcasm. As if watching a show, she seemed unable to accept that the girl who once worked in her shop was now living a better life. At that moment, Eilis suddenly woke up. She realized the town had never changed. Those watchful eyes everywhere, those invisible controls and judgments, they had always been there. She had left to escape them. Big cities may be cruel. Thinking this through, Eilis finally made her choice. She quickly bought a ticket back to America. Then she told her mother everything. She said she was already married, and her husband was a good man. Her mother was heartbroken, but she didn't stop her. She knew life must be chosen by oneself. On the day she left, Eilis said goodbye to her mother. Neither of them wanted to part, but she still left, carrying love for her mother. As she set off again, before leaving, she wrote Jim a letter, explaining everything. Then, she boarded the ocean liner again. On the ship, there was a young Irish girl. It was her first trip to America. The girl was very nervous, full of fear about the future. At that moment, Eilis realized she had changed. She began, like that woman long ago, to share her experience, how to survive the long voyage, what to watch for at immigration. The girl was just like she once was, and the ship sailed forward. And Eilis knew, this time, she had finally found her home.